I'm Jaime Butterworth. I'm the Chief Executive of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. The global economy, as it is today, if you take just fast-moving consumer goods, we put $3.2 trillion of value into the economy each year, and we're only able to capture 20% of that at the moment. So we actually waste $2.7 trillion of value. That's just fast-moving consumer goods. There's a number of different issues with that. Firstly, economically, in the last 10 years, we've seen a century's worth of price declines erased, effectively, as we see a shift in global commodity prices for oil, for agricultural commodities, metals, non-agricultural things like polymers. And as such, there's a real need, actually, to shift from a linear system to one that is more circular. We're also going to see 3 billion more middle-class consumers coming online between now and 2030. That's like the same number of people in Vancouver every 3 days consuming what we consume. There's also issues outside of that with degradation of food and farming systems from actually putting toxins into those through that waste, which accounts for approximately 4 billion a year. So ultimately, the shift from a linear to a more circular economy is something that's very important. In a circular economy, waste no longer exists. It's an economy which is regenerative by design, and there are some basic principles to it. There's two types of stuff. There's technical materials, things like metals, alloys, polymers, which cycle in perpetuity, and there's biological stuff, so anything that can flow safely back through a food and farming system. One of the important principles is that those two are kept distinctly separate. The second thing is you can use the circular economy as a value driver. So imagine the technical side of the circular economy. Recycling is the very last thing you want to do. You want to move into reuse, remanufacturing, and into service provision where you don't actually sell products any longer, potentially. You sell their value instead. So like Philips, Pay by Lux lighting, for example, they will sell you an amount of lumens of light as opposed to the light itself, which means they retain ownership of the valuable commodities and materials, and they benefit from the energy efficiency improvements. And then on the biological side, the same occurs where we look to extract value through biochemical feedstock extraction and aerobic digestion. And all of that shifts and changes the relationship that the economy has with energy. So we start to use compound less energy as we look to more reuse and remanufacture. I think one of the important things about how we get there is that it is already happening. So we've seen a significant shift even in the last 5 or 10 years of businesses really beginning to look at that process of shifting from linear models to more circular models. So if I give you one example, European automotive manufacturers between 2010 and 2011 on average saw a 500 million euro increase in the price of their input commodities. So now there's a big shift by some of those players to actually set up more regenerative supply chains. So a company that we work with called Renault can now take the used engine, drivetrain or gearbox of a car at the end of its life, completely remanufacture those and in some instances upgrade those, send them out the factory with the same warranty and guarantee as a new product, but using 85% less energy. So it's just one example at one end of the economy. But I think if you really wanted to accelerate this, there's a number of different interactions that can be made. One of them is around design of both products and materials. The second is around business model innovation. The third is around the reverse cycle, so collection, treatment, and redeployment. And the fourth is those enabling conditions that enable you to accelerate that, like education and aligned policy. I think the most exciting opportunity is the scale of the challenge. And ultimately, when you know where you want to get to, so when you have the vision of the economy that you wish to build, then there's a huge amount of opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think in particular, those people who are currently at university and at school and are looking to go into industry and work out what they're going to do next, I think that the circular economy provides an opportunity for them to rethink both those business models that exist today and also in terms of how we manufacture and make products and design those. But I think it really exists at all levels for corporations, those smaller emerging innovators in the economy, and also I think for municipalities ultimately. So I think we see our role as So if we can see the circular economy provides a coherent framework for where we want to get to, and we see that today's economy is predominantly linear, there's this huge transition period in the middle. And what we see our role as doing globally is to look at those kind of acupuncture points that we can make in the economy with a limited resource, but will have a disproportionately large impact. So I'm fascinated by trying to work out where those interaction points are and really bringing those to bear with the right partners.